If you've been running a fitness coaching business for almost 12 months now and your income still looks like a heart rate monitor, then this video is for you. You wake up one month and you genuinely don't know where your next client is coming from. Last month was a solid month. This month, crickets. And the worst part is you cannot figure out why, because nothing has really changed. You show up, you posted, you did the work, and still nothing predictable came out of it. You see, that cycle is exhausting. And if you've been there for more than 6 months, I want you to know that it's not actually bad luck. It's not the algorithm. There's something specifically causing it, and that's exactly what we're gonna cover today. And I'm gonna break it down exactly for you and how to fix it, because it's not as complicated as you think. But before we get into the fix, I want to be straight up with you about something in particular, because I think most people in this space get it wrong. And to be honest, it's not a talent problem. You might think it's a talent problem, but it really isn't. You're not struggling to get clients because you're a bad coach or because you don't know enough about training or nutrition or programming. That's not the case. The coaches that I work with who deal with this, they're genuinely good at what they do. Their clients get results, their knowledge is solid, and what actually makes it worse is because you can help people, and I know you can help people too. You know that what you're capable of delivering is of value, but the clients, they're just not coming in consistently, and so you start to question yourself. You start to wonder if maybe you're not as good as you think you are, or the market is too saturated, or maybe the whole online coaching thing just doesn't work the way you thought it would. And let me give you a piece of advice. None of that is true. The problem is not you. The problem is structural. You're operating without an infrastructure that makes client acquisition predictable, and it's a fixable problem, honestly. And we're gonna do that right now. And once you see it clearly, it's gonna make so much more sense to you. But let me tell you what's actually going wrong right now, like what's actually happening. Because most coaches are operating with what I call a hope-based acquisition model. And I don't mean that to be harsh or upsetting or insulting. I mean it literally. Like, the strategy is create content, post consistently, and hope the right person sees it. Hope that they reach out. Hope that the conversation actually goes somewhere. And occasionally, yeah, it does work. You land a client, your revenue spikes, you feel good about it for the month, and then it stops. And then you go back to posting and hoping. The problem with that model is that there's no system underneath it. There is no engine. It's just you manually creating attention and manually trying to convert it, with no structure, connecting, step 1 to step 2 to step 3 and moving people forward down the process. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about it this way, right? You've probably heard that the stat that most buyers need somewhere between 5 to 12 touch points before they actually make a decision. In fitness businesses, it's often higher because you're asking someone to invest real money into changing their life, which is not a snap decision. But what does your current process actually look like for someone who's interested but not yet ready? If someone watches your content for 3 weeks and finally sends you a DM, you have a conversation and they say, I'm interested, but not right now. And so what happens after that? Most coaches, nothing. Nothing happens after that. The lead goes cold, they move on, and 3 months later, the same person signs with someone else, and you've just lost a lead. The problem isn't your leads. It's not a lead problem. The problem is the follow-up infrastructure isn't there. It's just non-existent. And that then extends to the front end as well, because most coaches have no consistency when it comes to, the attracting of attention. They post when they feel inspired. They go quiet when they're busy with clients. And then, they panic post when revenue drops. So the top of funnel is inconsistent. The qualification process is informal or non-existent, and the back end, the follow-up, simply just doesn't exist. And so when you put all of that together, you get exactly what you're experiencing: unpredictable income, a feast and famine cycle, a business that feels completely reactive rather than something that you are actually in control of. And so here's the reframe that I want you to sit with, because this is the one thing that can literally change everything for you. What I want you to do is stop trying to get clients. Start building a system that gets clients for you. And there's a difference between those things. I know they sound familiar, but they're actually completely different orientations. They're things that they're complete polar opposites. When you're trying to get clients, everything is reactive and manual. You're the one hunting, and hunting works sometimes, yes, but you cannot hunt at scale. You cannot hunt when you are tired or you're flat or you're busy delivering to the clients that you already have. But when you build a system, a machine that runs regardless of the state that you're in, on any given day, any given time, any specific reason, your content goes out, your leads come in, the conversation happens, the triggers are followed up with, the follows are triggered, like clients and calls get booked in, and you just stop being that thing that makes it work. You stop being that centerpiece, that person who built everything and keeps it moving forward. That's the distinction. That's the difference between a job and a business. That's the difference between these two orientations, the chasing of clients and the building the systems that chase clients for you. So what does that actually mean? What does that look like? And I know it sounds nice to have and fancy and all this sort of stuff, but let me kind of walk you through the exact 3 components that bring this thing to life and make it possible. So component number 1 is consistent top of funnel. This is your attention generating system. And I want to be specific here. Consistent doesn't mean just posting every day. It means having a clear, repeatable content strategy that targets the right person with the right message on a regular cadence. Your content should be doing a very specific job, and that is attracting people who fit your ICP, which is your ideal client profile. And what it should do is it should repel people who do not match your ICP and position you as the credible authority in that specific niche to that specific ICP. The mistake that most coaches make here is creating content that's just way too broad. It's just too inspirational. It's too educational without any sort of tie back to a specific outcome or problem that they're experiencing. Your content needs to make the right person feel seen, feel heard, feel understood. And so when someone watches your reels or reads your posts, they're gonna think, wow, this person literally is describing my situation. That is when they reach out. So when you pair that with structured outreach, not spam, not DMs, not mass DMs, it's targeted, it's personalized, it's outreach that's specific to people who have already signaled some form of interest through engagement, whether that's story views or profile visits or likes or comments or inbound DMs. That is your top of funnel working in both directions, inbound and outbound. And so component number 2 is a structured DM qualification process. This is the step that most coaches skip entirely, and it kills your conversion rate dramatically. When a lead comes in, you need a process, not a script that you memorize and recite robotically. And that's something that I want to be very clear about. You need to have a clear framework for how these conversations flow. What questions do you ask? And of those questions, what are you trying to elicit? What are the answers you're trying to get out of this person? How do you identify whether this person is a real buyer or just curious? How do you move them from I'm interested to let's get on a call without being salesy or pushy or sleazy? And so the goal of the DM is not to sell, and I want to make that very, very clear. Hear me when I say this. The goal of the DM is not to sell. We're not here to sell in the DMs. The goal is to qualify, and you are trying to figure out quickly whether this person has the problem that you solve, their desire to get it solved, and the capacity to invest in solving it. If yes, you book the call. If no, you exit gracefully. That's it. It's very simple. If they do have all those things, you book the call and you get them onto a call and go from there. If not, then you exit gracefully. They're not meant for you. That efficiency saves you hours every single week because you're not chasing people who aren't ready. It dramatically improves your close rates on calls, and it makes your job so much more enjoyable because you end up working with people that you actually want to work with, people that care. And so component number 3 is a follow-up sequence for leads who are not yet ready. This is the highest leveraging thing that most coaches aren't doing right now. And it's where a huge amount of revenue is being left on the table. Because let's be realistic. Not every qualified lead will book a call immediately. Some will say, let me think about it. Some will ghost you after a good initial conversation. Some will say next month. That doesn't mean that the leads are dead. It means that they need more time and they need more touch points. It's very simple. And so to have this operate, you need a follow-up sequence that's structured, that's automated, that's personal, and it keeps you in the frame. It keeps you front of mind. It continues to deliver value and creates a natural re-entry point for the conversation to restart. A lead who says, not right now, in January can easily become a client in March if you stay visible, you stay relevant, and you stay top of mind, and you stay present. These three components, your top of funnel, your consistency, your top of funnel consistency, your DM qualification structure, and a follow-up sequence. When all three of these components are running together, you stop relying on luck and hope, and you start operating an actual business, a machine. So let me give you a concrete example of what this looks like when we implemented it into one of our clients' businesses. I work with a coach. He worked online, hybrid model, so he's doing online and in person, relatively decent following, genuinely good at what he does. His revenue was sitting around 4 to 6K per month, but it was all over the place. Some months he'd hit 8K, other months he'd drop to 3 and he'd panic. And he had no idea what was causing the swings. He had no way of predicting what was coming. So what we did was we dug into it. And the diagnosis was exactly what I just described. His content was inconsistent and just way too broad. He had zero DM process. He was just winging every single conversation, message by message. And his follow-ups were literally non-existent. If someone didn't book on the first conversation, then they were gone. So what we did is we built the system. We tightened his content strategy to speak directly to his ICP. Before that though, what we did was we figured out who his ICP is, which is super important as well. We then built a simple 5-step DM qualification framework, set it up in a follow-up sequence inside his custom-built CRM that ran automatically for leads who didn't convert initially. Within 30 days, he had his first 10K month. Simple as that. Not because he found more leads, got better at sales, found his selling tactics, but because his audience was his ICP. His systems allowed for his ICP to get nurtured automatically. His audience hadn't have grown significantly, but because of the infrastructure that was input into his business, he finally started converting the attention that he was already generating. He stopped losing the leads that he had already earned. And that is what a system does. That's what proper infrastructure does. It does not manufacture opportunities from nothing. It captures the opportunities that is already there and it converts it at a rate that is actually proportional to the effort that you're putting into your business. So if anything in this video that I've described here resonates with you and your business, if you can see yourself in that feast or famine cycle and you actually want to build the system rather than just understand it, here's what I want you to do next. I want you to reply to me with the word system. That's it, one word. What I'll do from there is I'll personally reach out and we'll jump on a quick screen share. It's not a call, it's not a sales tactic or anything like that. It's a screen share where I show you exactly what this looks like mapped out in your specific situation. Your business, your numbers, your audience. There's no pitching, there's no pressure, there's nothing like that. It's just clarity on what your version of this system needs to look like. And trust me when I say that the clarity that you're gonna get from this is like no other. One word, system, DM me that now, and we'll go from there.